Calvin Brock, I appreciate your time, sir. And you've always been a good contact of my my family, and you've always been a good mentor with advice and everything throughout the years. So I really wanted to sit down and kind of get a good life story interview with you, man. I appreciate the time.
Hey, thanks, Rocco, man. Appreciate you thinking enough of me to want to learn more about my career and you know life.
So I do got to ask you because it is actually blurry to me a little bit. How did you become a contact of my father, from whom I met you through?
Well, okay, I came in contact with your dad, Mr. Dr. Magone, when I was in training camp at California, PA, at Buzz Garnic's training camp, and I did something, man. I didn't have a bad back, but I did something to kind of pull my back out a little bit, and I don't know what could have caused it at the time, but I was in excruciating pain, and then Tom Yankello referred Dr. Magone. It either was Tommy and Kello or Buzz Garnic, one of the two of them. Tommy and Kello is my boxing trainer, was my boxing trainer. Referred me to Dr. Magone, your dad, and he really took good care of me, man. Didn't even charge me anything. He took really good care of me, and I really appreciate that a whole lot. He helped me out a lot.
Okay, okay. I got a picture of you and him. It was at Spartan Health. You guys were sitting in the office together. I don't know if you remember
Right.
that, but
I do remember.
I got the picture of it framed somewhere upstairs. So it's I got that. He had that at his old office in California, and I got a copy of it. So that's what's up. That's what's up. All right. So you grew up in North Carolina. How was that? How was your childhood down there?
My childhood in North Carolina was just a middle class kid, just a middle class kid in a middle class neighborhood that was raised by my biological mom and dad. My mom was a housewife. My dad owned his own business, still does own his own business, and so I played outside every day, rode bikes, played sports, football, baseball, and had my neighborhood friends, just a regular old school lifestyle, man. It was good. No, there was never any lack or anything like that.
And when you eventually got older, you hit the boxing gym. What made you become attracted to that sport?
Well, I was given well, first of all, what happened was I gave my life to Christ at 6 years old, got saved and everything, and then I asked God, what do you want for my life and everything. So then I was given two sets of boxing gloves for a Christmas present when I was like 8 years old, 8, 9 years old. And then, so I used to just box out there with my friends and stuff. And one day when I was done boxing, I was in the front yard of my parents' home. That's when God laid it in my heart. Like, this is what I want for you. This is what I want to do. Is I want you to box, and I'm going to bless you with everything that you need to make it far, so that the world gonna know, and you can always tell this story. How this got added to you at the first coming to me, and it's a story that you're always going to tell that's going to inspire a lot of people. So I went to the house and told my parents that God had told me that in my spirit and spoke to me in the front yard, and my parents told me no, I couldn't box. I just was going to go get educated and go out here in the workforce and do all of those things. And I told my parents that's exactly what I was going to do. I had a dream of being a businessman. I told them I would definitely go to college and come out and work in the corporate world and get a job, and that I did. And but they told me no. The sport wasn't cut out for me. I didn't need the sport, and so I kept begging them, and then after a couple of years of begging, they decided at 10 years old to let me go to the gym and box, and they thought that I would start something. It would be just a phase of my life, and it would phase out. And I went to the gym, and then the trainer told me that he didn't train anybody under 12 years old. Just come back in 2 years because every kid that come into the gym wastes his time. He was an old man. He was like 70 years old at the time. And so I went back to playing team sports for the next couple of years. And then, after I was done, turned 12 and finished up the sixth grade. And I went and asked my dad to take me to the gym. So he took me back and I walked in there and I said, this is it. This is what I want to do. And I got started. So that's how I got started boxing.
Now, when you went back to the gym at 12 years old, since you were already there before, and now you're coming back a couple years later, how were you treated by your peers at that point?
You know what? With my peers at that time, I dropped all my peers. The my two best friends that I played with moved away, so it was just me basically. And inside the boxing gym, I was the only kid. It was really an adult boxing gym. There weren't any kids really boxing in that gym, or even in Charlotte for the most part. I think I was the only 12-year-old, only kid boxing in Charlotte at that time. So I was having to be in the gym around a bunch of adults and spar with adults. So far as my kid life, that's when my kid life went away. I had a dream of wanting to go to the Olympics and become world champion as a professional, and so I stopped playing outdoors. I didn't have any outdoor friends anymore, peers like that.
Now, when you're in the gym and there's more adults than you around, how are they treating you? Or is it obviously you have to earn your respect in a gym with that environment, correct?
Well, they all respected me because here I was, this anomaly of a kid that's normally doesn't take the sport that serious to come into the gym 6 days a week. And keep coming back after getting beat up in the ring, not quitting and keep coming back. But so they treated me the same as they treated any other adult in the gym. I guess they feel like, I was mature enough to come in the gym with them every single day and be in the same atmosphere. I mean, they didn't censor what they said. They had adult conversations and they said adult things to me. So I kind of entered the adult world at 12 years old as far as my peer influence.
Now, so from age 12 to, would you say, college, you were still in that gym?
No, I started out with this older trainer. He was, by the time I was 12, he was 79 and he turned 80. He turned 80 after I was there for about 5 months. I boxed underneath him for 9 months. He was like, 80 years old, man. He couldn't show me nothing. It was like when I went through my first boxing match, I didn't know anything, man. I went in there and lost my first boxing match, got knocked down 3 times, didn't know what the first thing in the world to do. And then I lost my next 3. So I lost my first 4 boxing matches within, I think 9 months. I stayed with him 9 months. I think I had 4 boxing matches within 9 months to a year, and I lost all 4 of them. And then my dad said, "Listen, man, son, you're not going anywhere with this trainer." So right before I left there was another boxing gym, the Police Athletic League, PAL. That's the name of the place, PAL. It was another boxing gym across town that had a world champion at the time named Kelvin Seabrooks. He was the IBF bantamweight champion of the world. And he used to come into the gym that I was started off at sometimes just to work out, but he basically was trained over at PAL. And my dad said, "Let's go over there because if you want to stay here, then I'm not supporting you anymore. It's costing us too much money, too much time, too much sacrifice, bringing you here and picking you up every day for you to not go anywhere. So if you're going to stay here, then boxing is over. But if you go to PAL, we'll keep supporting you." So that's that was my stint right there. I believe it was like 9 months at my first boxing gym.
So in the world of sports, they use the word amateur. and I understand what they mean by that, but I really don't like that word in general. But how would you say from that point on, what was the turning point in your boxing journey to go to the next step that was, you know, like that, just take it to the next step?
Well, what happened was um, after I got over to PAL, I was only over there for maybe like 2 or 3 months. And then Kelvin Seabrooks, that was the reigning IBF bantamweight world champion at the time, lost his title and he fell out with his trainer. And so he fired his trainer. So I went there one day. There was no one at the gym. And the gym opened at 7 o'clock. And so it was a 2-level gym. It had a basement. All the equipment, the boxing equipment was downstairs in the basement. So I'm sitting down there in the basement wondering what's going on? There's nobody here. So out of respect, he showed up anyway because he knew that we hadn't gotten word that he wasn't going to train anymore. So he came downstairs and told me that, hey, I came back just out of respect to tell you guys that, we fell out and I'm no longer coaching. And he never coached again. And I sat down on the bench. I remember that, and my dad said, "Well, Calvin, that's it, man. You must have missed God. No need in boxing. You don't have a coach." And I was crying, and so I told my dad, I said, "Man, no, God did put it in my heart to box, and He did tell me to box, and I guess I'm just gonna have to leave from here and go to a school someplace where they allow kids to live there and box, or go live with a trainer somewhere." And I was 13 years old here. My dad said, "Daggone, Calvin, you're only 13 years old, man. You don't want to leave home that young, do you? I don't want you to leave home that young. And I know your mom not going to want you to leave." And then he said, "Well, I'll tell you what. How about I be your coach?" And I said, "Dad, how you going to be my coach, man? You never boxed before. You don't know anything, no more about boxing than what I do. Neither one of us know anything. We got to go against other boxers that have coaches that have boxed before." And then my dad said, "Well, I'll tell you what, Calvin, you filled with the Holy Spirit, saved, born again, filled the Holy Spirit. I'm saved, born again, filled the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit said He'll teach you all things. So we just have to ask God through the Holy Spirit, teach us boxing." I said, "Well, yeah, you're right. That's what the Bible says." And I said, "Well, okay, let's do it." And I was 0-4 at that time. I had had 4 matches and lost all of them. And then my daddy started training me. And I took this big leap in progression of, and getting a lot better with my dad. And he ordered some boxing instructional videotapes from Ringside Magazine. It was Kenny Weldon. Kenny Weldon was I think Kenny Weldon was one of the founders or owners of Ringside Boxing. But he was one of the training videos. And so we ordered those videos and learned from those videos. And they were very, very beginner videos. And so we learned from that, and we learned from other people that came into the gym. And we went on from there, man. I lost my next boxing match, my 5th boxing match. And then when I got to my 6th, I lost my first 6. I lost my next 2, my 5th and my 6th. But then when I won my 7th boxing match. And after I won my 7th boxing match, then I started going on these winning streaks. I'll lose one here and there, but then I go on these long winning streaks. And that's when things really began to turn around for me. By the time I got about 14 years old, I started winning a lot.
Now, you working out with different trainers, you going to different gyms. Things are working out. Some things weren't working out before, and then some things were working out. From having faith in God and things like that. Why do you think God would push you through some things working out and some things do working out? What was the message from that point on? Do you think that was straight? You got to persevere no matter what. Is that what you took from that?
I think God has a way, man, of just taking people through paths of life where they have to depend upon Him. And when I first started, man, I started from nothing. Me and my dad. And, we made a lot of mistakes. I had a lot of losses throughout my amateur career. You know, I was like 150 wins, 48 losses. 48 losses is a lot of losses, but at the same time, I won everything and went to the Olympics. And the biggest thing that God showed me was like, okay, you know, if I say that, you know, the Holy Spirit can teach you all things and guide you through life, the Holy Spirit is for real. You know, I'm on the inside of you. I can teach you all things. So he taught us boxing, man. And then he blessed us with the finances. So there's so many people throughout my career that had a lot of talent that they couldn't continue on the box because they didn't have the funding. And throughout the whole entire amateur career of my amateur career, I always had the funding. It was through PAL, or it was through some sponsor, or it was through my own dad. He doing well in business and paying out of his pocket. I never didn't make it because I didn't have a gym to train in or didn't have the finances to travel and compete. Whereas that's the primary reason why most boxers don't make it, because they don't have a place to train continually and they don't have the finances to travel and compete. And and and, and God blessed me, and I saw God move and bless me all along the way. And I never had to beg or ask anybody for any money. All I did was what God told me to do, box. I just trained. I went to school and I trained. I showed up at the gym, I trained. I worked hard, I trained. You know, I ran, I lift weights, I swam. I went to the gym. That was my job, to train. And God supplied my needs and all the way. And that's how I knew God was for me to make it. As far as it kept me going. It kept me going.
Now, growing up, eventually getting a little bit older now, and you're going to school with college. Could you kind of talk about your college journey while you were still training, and how to the mental balance of both, because that is not an easy thing to do at all.
Well, that's the only way I always knew it. You know, I started boxing right after the sixth grade. So throughout, the seventh through 12th grade, man, I always had to balance that boxing schedule and school and books. So when I got to college, you're not taking 6 classes in one day. You're taking 2 or 3 classes a day, right? So the workload wasn't quite as heavy as it was when I was in high school. The high school I went to was a very good high school, one of the most popular high schools in Charlotte, and it was a flagship high school, and man, they overloaded me with so much work, man. If I could handle the workload of that, then college it wasn't really a problem. It still was a little bit stressful and everything with the busy schedule and everything, but I was used to it. And so it just took a lot of perseverance and hard work and dedication, but it was something that, for the most part, all boxers are doing that already. It wasn't any different for me than what it is to any other top amateur boxer that that's still in grade school. They all got that same discipline, that same hard work ethic, that same drive, that same be by themselves, is lonely at the top, let all the friends go, let everybody else go to games and stay after school. No, they going home and they training, man. They got to focus in the dream. And then they still got to go back after they train, get their work done before training and after training. It's just a lifestyle of not just a boxer, but pretty much all athletes. I mean, my kids are athletes, and they're the same way. I mean, my daughter was on the basketball team. My son, he plays sports year round, and they work hard all day long, man. It's just the nature of being an athlete while you still in grade school or in college. So it's nothing any different from anybody else that's an athlete.
Now, how much are you weighing by college now?
Well, I first started college, fresh out of high school, man, I was still boxing at 178 pounds. I was a
Okay.
light heavyweight. So, I was light heavyweight up until I was a junior in college. And then couldn't hold light heavyweight no more. And then I went up to heavyweight. It's about just a couple years. I didn't stay heavyweight that long. Couple years, and then 96, 97, 98. 96, 90, well, 96 was split between light heavy and heavyweight. So I went up at the end of 96 to heavyweight, made the 96 Olympic trials. I was in the Olympic trials with Floyd Mayweather, and Fernando Vargas, those guys, Antonio Tarver, those guys. And I didn't make the Olympic team. But so that's, and then I boxed at, so the middle of 96 to the middle of 98, basically 2 years, I was a heavyweight. And heavyweight in the amateurs at 201-pound weight limit. So by the time I got like in the middle of 98, man, I was walking around like 215, 216. And I was having to lose 15 pounds to make heavyweight. Man, I was too weak, man. And then I just went up to heavyweight in the middle of 1998. Super heavyweight. I went up super heavyweight, which is like heavyweight in the pros.
Now, let's back up a little bit. Could you walk through the Olympic trials? You know, the very first steps of getting into that, and what you went through mentally with that after, you know, school and things like that, becoming a young adult.
Well, the Olympics, I made the 2000 Olympics. So at that time, things have changed now a little bit. But when I got to 2000, at that time, getting on the United States Olympic team just required you to win a national tournament or take second place in the U.S. Nationals, make it to a championship of U.S. Nationals. So when 2000 came around, I was the 1999 U.S. national champion, and then the first qualification, the second qualification, which was my first try getting into the Olympic trials, was the U.S. box off. It was a box off for the World Championship. So the U.S. box off winner went to the Olympic trials. So I won it. So they allowed 8 boxers to get into the Olympic trials. And those 8 had to come out of the U.S. Nationals, 2 out of the U.S. Nationals, 1 out of the Golden Gloves Nationals, 1 out of the U.S. Championship box off. That's 4. The East Coast, the East Olympic trials and the West Olympic trials, that's 6. And then there was the Armed Forces champion. The Armed Forces champion was Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. That one champion that win the Armed Forces champion that year made it to the Olympic trials. And then there was an 8th one. The 8th one, don't quite remember where the 8th one came from. It changes from Olympics to Olympics, where they choose that 8th person from. And they had to have competed internationally or won something, but it changes from every 4 years what that tournament could be. So 8 made it to the trials, and then 2 from the 8 make it to the box off, and the winner of the box off make the Olympic team. So I won all of that, made the Olympic team. So in 2000, at that time, they changed the rules to how you could get to the Olympics, though, once you made the Olympic team. Prior to 2000, all the way up to 96 Olympics in Atlanta, the Atlanta Olympic Games in 96. Prior to 2000, if you made your country's Olympic team, then everyone got to compete in the Olympics. But when it got to 2000, they changed that. They said that they only wanted nothing but the best of the world's best in the Olympics. Because you take a small country like Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, or some small third world island, those guys, may only box one time and then they go to the Olympics. So they cut those guys out. So they didn't cut them out. What they did, they set world regional tournaments. So the United States fall into the Americas region. And that's all North America and South America. And so they allowed 3 in my weight class to go to qualify for the Olympics. So they had the American qualifier, two qualifiers, one here in the United States that year in 2000 and one in Mexico. And I won the first one in the United States. That consisted of all the Olympic teams of every country in North America and South America. And the only three that went from North and South America over the two continents to the 2000 Olympics were me, Canada, and who I beat in the first qualifier championship, and then Cuba. So me for the United States, Canada, and Cuba were the only three boxers in my weight class from all of North and South America to compete in the 2000 Olympics. And we had a really good team. They thought that we was like the next greatest team, comparable to the 1976 with the 1996, the 1976 Olympic team with Sugar Ray Leonard, and the 1984 Olympic team with Pernell Whitaker, Evander Holyfield, Mark Breland, and those guys. And so we qualified all 12 of our weight classes, and that hasn't happened since 2009, 2004, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. I think this past 2024, they only qualified 4 males, man, to go to the Olympics. It's tough. It's real tough now, even after making the Olympic team, to get into the Olympics.
Now, when you're doing these fights, Calvin, something that always interested me personally in boxing was the anxiety of it, or the prep, the mental prep of it. How do you control any sort of nervousness or anxiety before stepping in the ring? Because it's an incredible feat.
Oh my gosh, man! You know, I never been under so much pressure in my life than what it was in the box office. Because see, in the box office, what happened was, man, I won everything all the way through. I won the Olympic trials, and I got in the box office. And I lost my first match to T.J. Wilson, whom I had beat twice in shutouts. I'm talking about 10-0. At that time, they were doing the point scoring system. So I had beat him in the U.S. National, the 1999 U.S. National Championships, 10-0. Then I beat him in the 2000 Olympic Trials Championship, gold medal championship, 4-0. So then get in the box office, man. This dude, man, just keeps progressing, getting better and better. And he was 6'6" southpaw. And I lost my first match to him, 1-0 on points, computer. So that night, man, I think I hardly slept, man. It was so much pressure. I think I hardly slept. And I still believe I would beat him. So I went in there the next night, man, and it was televised nationally live on NBC network, NBC. And man, I won that fight by 1 point, 6-5. And that was the happiest moment in my life. And after I made the Olympic team, man, I didn't know. I was confident that nobody else in the world could beat me. So I didn't have any problems. I dominated the American qualifier by winning it, hands down. And after that, there was no more pressure. Once I got to made the Olympic team and then made to Olympics, there was no more pressure because I'm at the Olympics now.
Now, what did you learn internally from competing on the world stage?
What I learned, you compete on the world stage like that, man, when you get to the Olympics, the only people that get to the Olympics and win gold medals, make it to the finals, or even make it to the semifinals, the bronze medal, a person has to be more than just good. They have to be fundamentally skilled, sound skilled. And that's everybody that's in the Olympics now. Meaning that your technique has got to be pretty much all together, perfect. That's the reason why everyone now that wins Olympic gold medal, man, you notice that they be world champion when they turn pro in less than 2 years. You take Vasily Lomachenko, and the dude was world champion in his second fight, I think. I mean, they're just that good. So my skill, I could fight and I was good, but my technique wasn't together. My fundamentals weren't together. And I lost to the Italian, Paulo Vitos was the name. My first fight, because he had better skill than what I had. A better jab, better defense. The skill, people don't understand that your skill level has got to be correct to make it far into the Olympics. If it's not, a person not going far at all. I mean, they have to be in shape. Everybody in the Olympics can fight. Everybody know the ring. Everybody know how to land punches. Everybody have defense. But then what makes the difference is the technique, the fundamental soundness of that technique, the sweet science of boxing. Do they know that or not? And I didn't know the sweet science like that. My technique. And I didn't learn it until I turned pro and started training with Tom Yankello in Pittsburgh. And likewise in the pros. A person has to be fundamentally sound to make it to the top of the pros and win world championships and keep winning. All of the guys that are winning world championships and still winning, they all got that same fundamental sound skill level. They're fundamentally sound. They've been taught and trained very, very well. And that's what made the difference in me coming up short as an amateur. Whereas, had I had the skill level that I had by the time I reached to the top of the pros, I probably would have won a gold medal.
So my theory, my next question then goes to develop the fundamentals. I understand there's definitely they're called fundamentals for a reason. But would you go as far as to say that develop your own style and your movements and your own combinations and going from what the old school taught the new school and things like that? Would you say you were still trying to develop your own style at that point? Were you still trying to find your own way stylistically?
You know what? It's like this, man. It ain't really no style in boxing. It's just a right and wrong way. It's a right and wrong way in everything in boxing. And you either doing it the right way, you're doing it the wrong way. It don't really have anything to do with style.
Well, when I if going to a Calvin match versus a Roy Jones match, there's some things that I like about you that I don't like about Roy, and vice versa. You guys, there's and other fighters too, not just him specifically, but everybody has their own unique presence to them. What how would you take that to the fundamentals is what I'm trying to convey.
Okay. Yeah. You got some boxers, man, that they tend to only box on the outside. They stick and move. You got some boxers that tend to be more aggressive. Okay. But irregardless, okay, to be more aggressive. I was the one that could do it all. If I need to stick and move, I can stick and move. If I need to be aggressive, I need to be aggressive. If I need to bang it out on the inside, I can bang it out on the inside. So they call me the kind of style of a boxer puncher is what they call. But see, the thing is, if a boxer gonna get into the pros or the amateurs and they're gonna keep winning and not get beat, they better know how to do it all. They better know how to stick and move. They better know how to get up on the inside and box. They better know how to put the pressure and cut a man off, corner him up, bang him away. At the same time, they better know how to keep him on the outside, pumping the jab, and slipping punches and stuff like that. Because every boxer gonna run into somebody that know how to neutralize their style. And if somebody can neutralize your style, then they're gonna get you. Then they're gonna beat you. So it takes. Unless you got a whole lot of height, or if you're real short, shorter than everybody. Even a short person, take Tank Davis, Javante Davis, he's shorter than almost all of his opponents, man. But the dude sticking moves, and then he ended up, moving into the inside. But you got to be able to do it all. And so if a person can't do it all, then they're one dimensional. So you may take a one-dimensional person, say like Mike Tyson. no, Mike Tyson not even one dimensional. You look back at Mike Tyson, the amateur boxer, man, there was some times he was sticking and moving. He still can move around in circles, but he never did as a professional. As a professional, he keeps going forward. But once he can't win going forward no more, then that's when he get beat. So I was a boxer puncher style, is what you want to call me. But for the most part, I did whatever it took to win.
So in other words, the psychology of boxing is it's like Albert Einstein. You got to know the fundamentals, add, subtract, multiply, divide, and apply that to who you become as a champion.
Yeah, you got to know arithmetic. You got to be able to do all four: add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Exactly.
Now, how do you transition from amateur to pro? Where are you at in this timeline? After the
Well, I started transition. I mean, you start transition when you turn pro. Once you turn pro and start boxing 6 rounds for the most part, 4 rounders is pretty much like the amateurs because you have to, in 4 rounds you really can't afford to lose a round. It's 4 rounds, and 4 rounds a boxer, a good boxer that's coming out of the Olympics, that's going to be champion within a couple of years, won't even box 4 rounders. They go straight in 6 rounders. But I had about 3 or 4 4 rounders. Those are much like a 3 round amateur boxing match. You can't lose a round. You start off pretty fast pace. But once you get to 6 rounds, then that's when you learn how to pace yourself down. You learn a better inside game, better professional defense. Learn how to use the jab better for the most part. Get used to the longer rounds and training harder, training longer. You kind of develop into more of a pro. You spawn with pros, things like that. You start picking up things and getting taught from your trainer and taught from other boxers, and your mentality changed a little bit more.
Now, how do you get up here in Pittsburgh?
You know what? I got up there in Pittsburgh. It was right during the 2000 Olympic trials, right? Tom Yankello's brother, he was a banker here in Charlotte. And at that time, when I was training to make the Olympic team, I was a banker here in Charlotte too. So we both worked downtown. So he moved to Charlotte, got a job with a different bank that I was working with. But this is a banking city. We were the second largest at the time. We were the second largest banking city in the nation behind New York City. So he was here. He was a bond trader for one of the banks here, and he came into the gym one day. And I remember when he walked in. I was in there. I was in the rings, doing mid work with my dad. And he talked to me a little bit afterwards and started bragging on his brother. And at that time, Paul Spadafora was the world champion. And he was talking about how Paul Spadafora was, and he was talking about Vaquan Kimbro. Vaquan Kimbro had won the Junior Olympic Nationals, and I think he had won the National Golden Gloves, and how great of a trainer his
Legend.
brother was. And and so he invited me, to get in contact with his brother and come up there to Pittsburgh. So I didn't meet his brother until the Olympic trials. I like, okay, this is his brother, big deal. I hadn't even seen Paul Spadafora fight. So I didn't pay it too much mind, but I knew Vaquan Kimbro made the Olympic trials in 2000. So I got to meet Tom Yankello at the 2000 Olympic trials. And then I saw Vaquan Kimbro, although he lost, he looked real good. So then I began to see Paul Spadafora on television. I said, man, that dude can fight, man. That's all I need to be fighting right there. And so I went ahead after I was already 8-0. I was like 8-0, 9-0. I think I'm 9-0. I was 9-0 as a pro. About a year later, he kept coming to the gym. We became friends. Mark Yankello, Tom Yankello's brother. And I finally just, okay, you know what? I need a change in trainers. I was training out in Las Vegas with my first pro trainer, Pops Anderson, that trained Samuel Peters, heavyweight division that became me and the Nigerian heavyweight that became WC world champion for a little bit. But I, I didn't think I was getting what I needed out there in Vegas, so I figured I'd give Tom Yankello a try. So I went up to camp with him, and he was everything that I needed. So I kept on, staying with Tom Yankello.
Now, how do you get introduced to Buzzy through Yankello? Buzzy Garnic.
I got introduced to Buzz going through Tony Yankello. Problem was, man, it was all right fighting 6 rounds, lots of matches, train out of Ambridge, PA. Okay. So I was having to commute from Robinson Town Center in Pennsylvania, right there near the airport, Moan Township, Robinson Town Center to Ambridge. And man, that commute was wearing me out, man. I was having to, go there in the morning to run to Ambridge and then come back and go back again and come back. That's 4 trips, man. A boxer training as a professional, man, can't be, driving that much, man. It'll wear you out. And then I'll having, I was living in hotels and then I'm having to go out and, eat in restaurants and things. And I'm like, you know what? I cannot train for 10-round fights and 12-round fights expect to make it to the top like this. So then Tommy Yankello, through Paul Spadafore, I think he had trained up there at Buzz Garnic. So Tommy Yankello mentioned, I'll tell you what, why don't we just make a transition up to California, PA, and Buzz Garnic so we can have everything in one place. Because, going the way you're going, man, it's going to take too much out of you to make it. So that's how we got up there at Buzz Garnic.
Now, when you met Buzzy for the first time, what was that interaction like?
Perfect. Day one. Everything was perfect. Day one. He and his wife, his wife, daughters, support. Everything was perfect, man. Everything I needed.
As a professional boxer, it was always interesting to me what the eating regimen is, because I lift weights and I watch what I eat, and you are what you eat. What was Calvin Brock's general, eating regimen in his pro career?
Ate some oatmeal in the morning, salad midday, meat, a brown starch and green vegetables for dinner. I didn't eat anything white. No white bread, no white rice, nothing white. No sugar. And then I had 2 shakes in between meals. So that's like five meals a day, like 3 food meals, 2 shake meals, and vitamins and stuff like that. That was my regimen.
What's your take on supplements when it comes to, capsules or, they got those Quest bars now, the protein stuff. What was your take on that? Did you eat any of that stuff?
Yeah, I was taking muscle milk at the time.
Okay.
Muscle milk powder. And that and maybe some I experimented with some other supplements too. I mean, nothing illegal, like some stuff like I didn't like creatine, andro. I think I tried andro a little bit. Problem is the creatine, man. Creatine that pump me up with too much water. That slow you down. Andro pump you up too much, make you slow. So it's kind of it was a hard find, man. The supplements ain't enough. The food ain't enough either. I mean, it takes some extra supplements that's legal, obviously, to be in addition to your food schedule and your regular dietary supplement schedule, man. It's for the body to recoup that fast each day. And or else, man, a person not gonna be competitive if they're not on some kind of enhancer. Some kind of enhancer, I think all these athletes are on to be competitive. it has to be a legal enhancer, but it has to be an enhancer to make a person recruit faster and strong, or else, man, they're not going to be competitive. It ain't happening.
So Calvin got this big fight coming up. How do you prepare for this major bout, eating and training? Are you what's the specific, psychology and physical preparation for that? Say a week or two before, right up to the big fight.
Same as all the other ones. I mean, when you get to a big fight, man, you've been in big fights before already. I mean, a person would already have several 10-round fights, some 12-round fights. I mean, they're all big fights. So you're not doing anything different from all the other big fights that you had to even get to the championship. So we get down, I mean, so a person going to tailor their trainer. They're not going to get to the world championship. Oh, this is the world championship. This requires something different. So that's what the downfall was. That my duty was just to train, man. But unfortunately, it was. I think my trainer Tom Yankello got excited, and I got overtrained for the Boston match, and I sparred too many around too early. It's called peaking too early. You got to peak at the fight. You can't peak too early. So I think we trained too hard, too long, sparred too soon, too much. Peaked too early, man. I got overtrained and didn't go in there strong enough. That's the hard part. That makes the sport even harder. It's that as you get older, you want to get leaner. You still got to stay lean because just 2 pounds can make all the difference in your timing. And you got to be lean, you got to be strong, you got to be sharp. You want to be there your A game, and to get there your A game as you get older becomes tougher. And there I am, like 31, 32. My metabolism ain't the same as it was when I was 25 or 26. So, the diet got to be right. What weight I come in to camp at, it makes a difference. And then, I got to take some trainer that knows how to, push forward and pull back to peak a boxer right there at the A game at the fight. And, that takes experience. But once something works, you got to stick with it. And we didn't stick with it, man. And I think I came up short.
No, when I get excited to do something, it could be anything. It could be, doing my music, doing my movies, going to the gym, anticipating the next day to do it again is it's hard to sleep sometimes. How many hours of sleep did you try to get, leading up to a fight, and did it always work out in your favor that way, sleep wise?
Try to get 7 to 8 hours. You try to get 7 to 8 hours. I mean, you try to get 8. Really, the body needs 10. Really, the body needs 10, 12 hours sleep, man, to rebuild itself. And it don't have to be 10, 12 hours sleep. It could be 10, 12 hours of rest. So in between training periods, whenever boxing, whenever I wasn't literally training, man, I was off my feet. A boxer cannot be running around, driving around, going places, walking through malls, busy all throughout the day, man. When in between gym time, it's a bunch of lying around. So for me, I just lie around, read books, watch television, study films. And in between training periods, man, that time go by quick. You might be resting 2 or 3 hours before your next training period. You get up in the morning, you run, or you swim, and then eat. You come back, shower up, eat breakfast, you lay down for like 3 4 hours, and then it's time go into the boxing gym, train, and then as you train, you might have another workout, at the end of the evening, or you might be done, and it's time to, eat dinner a little while later, and then you rest up, man. You stay off your feet. You can't be running around and stuff.
What was Calvin Brock's, There's got to be something really good, man, that you could remember. What was Calvin Brock's favorite cheat day meal,
Favorite what?
cheat day meal, dessert, fast food, something?
Ain't no cheap day meal, man. Ain't none of that.
Okay.
Ain't none of that. No, ain't none of that, man. It's like it's discipline all the way, all the way. I mean, that's why when you hear these boxers say, man, all that they take their bodies through, it's that training, it's the diet, it ain't no cheating. I mean, because see, boxer can't do that. They can't take a cheat day because it plays on your psyche. It plays in part of your mental preparation, part of your meanness, determination. If you go in there in that fight and you've been cheating yourself, and, then the bell rings, and then you're not feeling your best, you're not able to compete at your highest, then that plays in the back of your mind that, okay, I know why. You know what I'm saying? I'm 1 or 2 pounds heavier. Would it made a difference had I not cheated during camp? So no, you can't cheat yourself. It's too much on the line.
What would you say out of your whole boxing career, professionally? What were some of the highs and the lows mentally? You got a great run, and there's good days and there's bad days. And I want to try to compare that to like life in general. Like it's not easy being persistent. I mean, you got God on your shoulders, you got eating right, you're training right, but there's got to be some days where it's just rinse, repeat, and you get used to it after a while.
I think like ain't no good days or bad days, man. It's just pressure. That's the best way to put it, man. Pressure that you got to win. In boxing, losing is unacceptable. You got to keep winning. It's unacceptable at any point, especially before you become a world champion. You don't want to lose. Can't lose. So that's a constant ongoing pressure no matter what, you know. So it really ain't no good day or bad day. It's just that, okay, just keep progressing towards a boxing match and get in the boxing match. If you lose, then that's the bad day. If you win, okay, well, you won. Everything that you did, there will be no need to change what you did because it resulted in me winning. So it's a good day. Only bad day is whenever I lost the world title. That was a bad day. Now, we got to go back and look and see, what did we do to cause us to lose? We shouldn't have lost. That's the thing. You lose, you shouldn't have lost. Period. You win, everything is good. You feel like a regular everyday day, just like a regular day today is today. Feel like regular. Everything is regular, but because I won. But if I lose, no, this is not regular. Losing isn't regular. This ain't ever what's supposed to happen in life. It wasn't supposed to happen, So that's when the world come crashing down. Things got to get changed. This can't ever happen again. I mean, so during training, yeah, it's just yeah, you might get injuries or hurt or pain. It's just part of training. I mean, ain't no bad day unless you lose.
Now in 2007, I was in kindergarten at this time. I was a puppy at this time. You had a fight with Mr. Eddie Chambers, and during this fight, you received eye damage. When you're fighting, leading up to this, could you describe the situation, the fight?
Well, I knew going into that fight that I had some shoulder issues, a left shoulder issue, right? And I knew that, at some point I probably gonna need a shoulder surgery. My shoulder, my jab wasn't quite as strong as it was. Needed. It wasn't as strong as I needed it to be. I wasn't at 100%. Nowhere near. And somehow, man, um, when I got to that Chambers fight, bro, my arm was shot. By the time then, it was shot. And I didn't know it was shot as bad as it did until I got into the fight. But I knew that I was skilled enough and good enough to beat him. And not to take anything away from Ed Chambers. He was a real good fighter. He was undefeated. But I had sparred with him once before. And camp one time he drove down to Pittsburgh. And he was one of my sparring partners. And I had my way with him. So he had gotten better and everything, but I still didn't think he would be a problem. The problem was that I couldn't really use my left jab as much as I wanted to. I used it a lot, but it had nothing in it. So I was fighting that fight throughout excruciating pain. And my eye wasn't 100% going into that fight. It was detached, and I wasn't seeing clear in that fight. I was seeing a little blurry due to the detachment of my eye. And even with the detachment in the torn shoulder, I had a torn shoulder, the worst torn shoulder that my orthopedic surgeon said he had ever seen, even to this day. And I end up, and even with that, I thought I edged him out. I thought out of 12 rounds, I won 8, no less than 7 rounds. Not to say it still was a close match. And that's the way it came. But that ended up being my last match because I had the retinal surgery and came out the surgery blind in the right eye. I don't know what could went wrong. And you have to sign papers saying that it's a possibility of blindness after the surgery or even death. So you have to sign that indemnification prior to the surgery. That I did. Came out blind, and that was the end of my career.
No. Scientifically, visually, what are you seeing? That was always interested me about you, man, and other people with eye situations. It's like, what are you visually seeing in that
Right now,
one eye right now?
I can't see in front of me. I can see if I put my hand right here, I can see my hand a little bit, but not real. I can see my hand just on the far right side, but I can't see nothing in the front. It's just opaque black. I might can see myself wave on the far left. Right, on the far left is opaque black. The more I move to my right, the more I can see my hand way over here. So my retina is damaged all on my left side, I think. And I can't close my eye and see through, see across the room or nothing. It's blind. It's blind, man.
This might be a tough question, man, but and excuse me if this kind of gets too far, but everybody's born with 2 eyes and 1 mouth and 2 ears. 2 is better than 1. Why do you think God would put you in a situation to lose one thing that he gave you?
Oh no, man. That's been a hard struggle, Rocco. I've asked myself that 1,000 times. I can tell you this. I need to come out of boxing for a while at that time. Because at that time, my equilibrium had begun to get a little off. I couldn't have my head straight and see clear. I had to have my head down like this to see clear, almost like looking up. My equilibrium, my vision, I think boxing started to take a little bit of a toll upon me. Um, I knew I had some chances of maybe having a detached retina because I had been hit in the eye a lot, specifically my right eye, a lot of different times, and it really concerned me that how many more times could I get hit in the eye without having some damage to my retina, and ended up having a detachment. But even after that fight, man, I had to have a shoulder surgery, and my shoulder was shot. It took about a couple years for that to heal, so that would took me out the game for at least a couple years. And then my neck got to the point where it couldn't take being pulled on anymore. Like for like I think for like 5 years, man. After my boxing career, man, I dealt with a lot of neck pain, uncomfortable nights sleeping because of going through a lot of different types of pillows because my neck vertebrae had taken some damage where it has straightened out rather than have a curve to it, rather than have a curve to it like it's supposed to. It got
Right.
straight. Your dad would know what I'm talking about. And so in 2012, I went over to China to get some stem cell therapy, right, to one of the best stem cell hospitals in the world. And after I got that stem cell therapy, although it didn't give me my vision back, it helped out with my speech, my equilibrium, neck pain, which I don't have anymore. So although at that time, man, I don't know, at the end of my career, I don't know really if I was really healthy enough, my body wise, to really even continue, man. With the shoulder, with the neck, in the equilibrium, in the vision. I don't think, honestly that I would be able to continue at the top the way I was, having to go through training camp. Because see, most of that damage that bosses take, man, it's not in that fight. It's in the training.
Correct.
It's a lot of when you when boxers are training, man. They a boxer has to be good enough when he hardly ever gets hit, even in training. But in heavyweight division, man, them guys can punch, man. You can't be in there with tomato cans and then go fight world beat world beating world beater contenders. So the sparring partners are a lot of times future contenders and world champions coming up, or former world contenders and champions coming down. These guys can punch, man. These guys are good. So with the punches getting taken in the basically in sparring, all those rounds of sparring, I don't think my body really could have. A lot of boxers come out pretty messed up, man. Me, all my faculties are together. I speak well, I see well, I think well. Maybe to enjoy my life and family, and all of that is more important than winning the world title. All of
That's
that
right.
is more important. My health is more important than making millions. You don't
That's
need
right.
to have the millions if you don't have health. So I don't have to worry about like some boxers, getting early dementia and stuff like that, or Alzheimer's and all that kind of stuff that can lead because of brain trauma. I haven't I, I haven't received any kind of brain trauma. All of my blood vessels, my brain through MRIs and everything, almost like an individual that has never boxed before and never taken a blow to the head. So would it stood a good chance of getting to that? Yeah, I didn't become world champion. Would I have quit? No, I would have kept on trying. I think God knew I would have kept on trying. Okay, and to take nothing away from, you know, I don't know, man. the thing is, God is a fair God too. And Vladimir Klitschko was a great boxer. You know, had I won the boxing match, had it been on my best night, I don't know. Maybe I would have, maybe I wouldn't. All I know is that, man, on paper he was supposed to win. In every aspect of boxing, on paper he was supposed to win. If he get in there and fight the fight that he's supposed to fight. So he got in there and fought the fight that he's supposed to fight. And he's not an easy opponent to beat for anybody to beat. And that's the reason why he stayed champion for almost 10 years.
To wrap up your whole journey, man, with the sport of boxing and your contribution to the whole world of boxing. You're not out of the ring now, and you're me and you touched base the other week about you're going to church more, you're keeping in touch with other fighters, past coaches and trainers and so forth. You have a family now, you have a real family now. What would you say the whole world of everything that you went through with your first spark of boxing through God and training and all the 100,000 hours, what has that taught you about having a real family, which you have right now as we're sitting here talking today? And what aspects of that do you apply to them?
It's so many aspects, man. It's so many to learn a lesson through boxing, through the start, all the way up to now. It's just boxing makes up a lot of my raising of my children, the things that I learned spiritually and naturally through life. You know, God supplied all my needs. The thing is, man, I might not have became world champion and retired this rich guy, but I still live like I'm rich though, because I got a real nice house, I got my wife, my kids, I got a lot of freedom. I work with my dad. He's in business. The bills stay paid. I got my freedom and my health, and that's rich, man. When you have uh, financial provision and all of my health, all of my family here's next month. I enjoy the good family life. People always tell me how blessed I am, how nice my family is, and I got all my health. I really don't have any regrets, other than I don't. I mean, life is good. I'm blessed. I really live a rich life, because all the money in the world ain't gonna make a person rich. I mean, there's a lot of
And you
rich
can't
people.
you can't take it with you. You can't take it with you.
Can't take nothing with you. And the thing is, man, my mom and dad, we close. My dad, my trainer. I have a great relationship with my parents. My sister, it was just me and my sister. She works in a family business too. We all, my mom, dad, sister, myself, every my family, we all saved, born again. If the world was the end of the day, man, we in heaven together. Everybody healthy. Ain't nobody sick. Ain't nobody dying or anything. You know, ain't been no tragedies in me, in my family. You know, these are things that money can't buy. These are things that you can't work for. These are things right here that come through blessings from God, through prayer, and just blessed from God, man. Things that it's a, it, I mean, I'm blessed. To not take anything for anybody else, man, but you know, I have a great. I still got both of my parents living. I was raised by my biological parents. I did everything I wanted to do. I wanted to go to college. I graduated from college. I wanted to work in corporate world. Working in corporate world. I wanted to have a life and a family and a home. I have all that. I mean, I wanted to be able to have all the time in the world with my kids. My son will probably my son's gonna be an NFL major quarterback, man. He got quarterback training today at 4 o'clock. But he's a more of better athlete than what I am. He played football, basketball, baseball, and I'm training him in boxing too. And
Put your
you know,
son's name on the tape, man. Put his name on it.
his name is Bryson Brock. Bryson. You know, most people just call him Brock. You know, in school and sports, but Bryson, Brycen, Bryson Brock. You know, you're gonna hear about him. You know,
What is he right now?
he's just 11 years old, just
Okay.
going
Okay.
to 6th grade now. He just finished up the 5th grade, going to 6th grade. But you know, he's the first string starting quarterback. I mean, he already getting told that hey, dude gonna be in the NFL one day. Uh, Good basketball player, good baseball player. You know, I was a good athlete myself. You know, I'm able to spend all the time with him and teach him how to be good and be the best player on the team. And then my daughter, she was on been playing basketball, but she don't want to play basketball anymore. But she's both of my kids are very smart. They got all A's in school, straight A's for the most part. I mean, you know, those things right there, man, just super blessed to be able to make a living and be there at every game, be out here in the yard every day with my kids and stuff. That's to me living the dream. I'm living the dream, man.
Calvin Brock, I want to thank you for your time, man, and you always being a mentor for me from afar, and your contribution to the sport of boxing and your contribution to the state of Pennsylvania and the city of Pittsburgh, and it means the world to me, man. You giving me your time with this today because I know you're not free all the time, and you're a good man, Calvin. And I wanted to make this piece on you because I wanted to have this on file somewhere. So thank you, man.
Hey, Rocco, man. Doing this for you, man, is part of the reason why God blessed me to box, man, to be an inspiration to people, man. So that's the reason why I stayed in contact with you all these years. You stay in contact with me, but it's the reason why I answer your calls. Because, my career wasn't about my career. My career is about ministry. The ministry and, just being the person that I am.